Welcome back, everyone. This is Angry Alpha, and welcome to another video about the United States military, specifically the Army, and my journey from start to finish, from when I went to recruiting to where I am now. And yes, I am currently in the Army and the National Guard. So today I'm going to be talking about MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Station. My last video, and you guys will see it towards the end when it says previous video. You guys can check it out if you haven't already. It's about the recruiting process and how it goes and how I experienced it. And I'm telling you guys this from experience, in case you guys are wondering, in case you guys are considering of joining, maybe your friends joining, maybe a family member, and you want to relay this information over. So today I wanted to talk about MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Station. So after you're done talking to your recruiter and you set a day that you're ready to swear into the military, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever the case may be, you're going to be going to MEPS, okay? Now this is how my experience went. So pretty much I set a date, it was on a Thursday, told my recruiter, all right, I'm finally ready. I decided I do want to join the Army. So he's like, all right, so on Thursday, you're going to be going to MEPS. And then on Wednesday, you go to a motel, or technically a hotel, not a motel. And so you go to a hotel. I went to downtown Cleveland for it because MEPS is around in Cleveland. And at least for mine, the closest one to mine. And so the night before, you go to your recruiter. He buses you off to MEPS. You process in, and then they ship you off to the hotel. And then for the night, you play video games, you meet new people. You typically have a roommate, you may not. It depends on how many people are joining. And with coronavirus going on right now, who knows if people are joining or not. Probably your parents or your family members don't really want you to right now. But with the Army and everything, they're quarantined just like us. They're still accepting people, but it's probably a lot less. I don't know what MEPS is doing right now with that, but nonetheless, if you guys see this down the road where maybe coronavirus isn't that relevant or it died down or whatever the case may be, this will still be helpful for you because my MEPS processing station, when I did it, it was before all this happened. So anyways, I got set to the hotel, met some people, ate some food. You pretty much eat dinner and then you go to bed at like around 9 o'clock or 2100, whatever you want to say, military time or whatnot. And then you wake up at about 4 in the morning, 4:15 in the morning, give or take. And then you get woken up typically by a phone call. You wake up, you go downstairs, they probably do accountability, something like that. And then you go eat breakfast. After you go eat breakfast, a bus comes and picks everybody up, and it's from all branches. So it's Army, Navy, Air Force. Everybody's at this hotel because MEPS processes all branches in the military. So you take the bus and you head over to the processing station. Now, once you're there, it's a lot of waiting. I'm going to tell you guys right now to be mentally prepared for it. It's not tough or anything. It's just, it can be mentally tough for some people, because for me, it was a 14-hour day. I woke up at 4 and I didn't get home till like 6 p.m. at that point in time after everything was done, okay? So pretty much what happens is you get there, you process in, you're sitting there and waiting, okay? So you go into a classroom after you process in, and they tell you pretty much what's going to be going on for the day. They may be a little bit rigorous, not too bad. They're not drill sergeants or anything. They're civilian workers. Typically, there's some people from the Army or maybe other branches that work in there, but I had a civilian worker talking to me in the classroom. So pretty much they give you a form. You fill out saying, oh, have you done drugs? Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke? Do you have kids? Just like the typical basic stuff, you know what I mean? And they're going to tell you, hey, if you didn't tell your recruiter that you smoke weed or you do drugs, whatever the case may be, tell us now. We need to know. They're going to push that on you the whole entire time. And your recruiters are going to tell you, don't tell them. Don't tell them because they're just going to disqualify you. And you're going to have to redo this all over again, and it's going to be a waste of time, which is true. So hopefully you're not on drugs at this point in time because they're going to be drug testing you. You're going to have to take a urine test later on in the day, and I'll explain that later. Anyways, so they're going to talk about that. They're going to push that on you, say, hey, just admit it. They're going to ask you if you have ADHD, any medical problems, stuff like that. If you do and you feel like you're not fit, you can tell them. I'm not saying anything, I'm not trying to tell you guys not to say it, okay? I'm not a recruiter. Your recruiters will tell you, I promise you that. But I'm just saying, if you have any medical issues that you think will be a problem, you can tell them. If you think you can get through it, don't tell them. It's your choice. I'm not telling you to do or what not to do. Your recruiters will guide you through the process and tell you what you need to say and what you need to write down. For me, they said, say no, none, and never. That was literally that. Except for, are you in good health? That's a question that they'll ask, and you say yes. And then I wear glasses. So I said I wear glasses. That's pretty much what I said. I don't have any medical problems, stuff like that, so I'm okay. Anyways, after hours in that classroom, sitting straight up, having your chair pushed in, it's not a casual kind of classroom setting, it's rigorous. You're joining the military after all, and so you're in there doing what you got to do. And then afterwards you go through some medical exams. So you got, eye exams, listening, hearing exams, stuff like that. And then, there's a bunch of people doing it. So that's why it takes so much time, just from the classroom setting and to where I'm at now, that probably took maybe 2 to 3 hours, something like that. And I think they do give you a lunch break, by the way. I think I had a lunch break. I don't remember. This is a while ago. So this is back in February of 2019. So that was over a year ago now. But yeah, I think they give you lunch. That I don't know why they wouldn't. But anyways, so you go through it, you do your hearing, you do your eye exams, stuff like that. And then they call this the underwear Olympics, okay? So you go into a room, only males go in, and then afterwards, if there's females there, only females go in, and you do the underwear Olympics. So what you do is you strip down in your underwear, okay? And then, there's a civilian worker there and some doctors, and they observe you. See if you can do certain activities like stretching, I hated this one. You had to walk on your knees on a concrete floor from one end to another. That really hurt. I'm telling you, I don't have knee problems, but that really hurt. That sucked. You're gonna have to deal with that, but it's not that hard. It's like 10 seconds, whatever. And then you show them like the bottom of your feet, your palms, see if you have any scarring from major surgeries. They ask you to do that. They check your weight and your height. So, if you're not within BMI standards, they're not going to accept you. I saw a couple people that were a little bit overweight and they had to come back for a later time because they had to lose some weight. Some people got lucky and they got in. It just all depends on your situation. So talking about after what happens with that. So you do the underwear Olympics, like how I said, it's just a bunch of physical stuff. Not too bad, just stretching, everything like that, like how I said. After that, you could either do your physical or you can go and take your urine test. I think I did the urine test after that. I'm not quite certain. Yeah, I think I did the urine test. So they took us out, we got dressed back up. We did the urine sample. And pretty much what you do is you just sit there. They're like, hey, if anybody needs to use the restroom, you can volunteer now if you want. If not, just wait. Some people can't pee in front of others. You know what I mean? It's just the honest truth because they watch you. You go to urinal. If you're a female, you go to the toilet and they watch you. They watch you urinate, in case, you're doing something to where it's fake urine or you're faking your tests, and you can get in big trouble for doing that. So I advise you not to do that. But people try that. So that's why they got to watch you. And that's what happens in the Army and in other military branches as well whenever you have to take drug tests. So we went in there, did the urine test. They gave it over to the people that were going to test it because they test it there immediately to make sure that you're going to swear in and that you don't have any drugs in your system and whatnot. And then before or after that, it doesn't really matter. You take your blood test. So they're just checking your blood just to make sure that you have no diseases or whatever the case may be. So if you're afraid of needles, I'm sorry, just look away. You can get through it. I know people that hate needles and they're in the Army right now. You just got to fight through it. You got to be mentally tough with it. So after you do that, you go and take your physical. Now I'm talking like all that. It sounded quick, right? Like I got it in under 10 minutes. Yeah, no, that's hours long, okay? So this is probably 1 to 2 p.m., you know what I mean? Which is 1300 or 1400. We're way past all those times. Like that took a fat minute. I'm letting you guys know that right now. That took a while. So you go in, you take your physical. It's not too hard. It's simple. Everybody stands out in a single file line outside, get called in one by one. Depending on how many doctors there are, depends on how fast it goes. And then it's easy. If you ever been in sports or you just took a regular physical, it's just like that. It's not hard at all. And also, I completely forgot about this. And this is how my MEPS did it, so it might be different for you guys. But like the prior day to going through this processing station, when you go up to MEPS to process, then you take the ASVAB, okay? And make sure you take the ASVAB before you do all this processing stuff in case you fail. You don't go through a wasted day. It may be different for other people, but I feel like they all have the same system. So I apologize about that. So the prior day, you take the ASVAB. Depending on how well you score is what depends on what you can do for a job in the military, like what you can be, whether it's a career or a 3-year contract, whatever the case may be. And I'll explain that in a little bit, but I apologize about that once again. You take the ASVAB the day prior to doing all this processing stuff that I've been talking about. Okay, so after you take the physical, you're pretty much done, okay, as I recall. And if I'm incorrect with any of this, guys, please tell me down in the comments below. You guys can correct me, or add something in case I forgot, for other people to see. And I appreciate that very much if you do. So after the physical, you're done pretty much. So you go sit down, you probably eat some food. It's around, like, I would say 3 o'clock at this point in time, 1500. You're just sitting there waiting, and you're just pretty much going to wait until you swear in. But that's the final thing. So what you got to do is go see whatever branch you're in. You got to go see them, and then just finish out doing some paperwork, doing some signatures, simple stuff. And then after that, you pick your job. At least in the Army, you pick your job. I don't know about the other branches. I think you do. You should be able to. If you don't really care, just tell them you don't really care, and then just pick whatever. But I sat down, and since I'm in the National Guard, I was able to pick what job I wanted. They told me which have bonuses and which doesn't. And for bonuses in the National Guard, it's up to $20,000. And so they tell you that. They tell you how long the AIT is, your job training, and where you're going to be stationed after you're done. Whatever state you're in. So like Ohio, I live in Ohio. So I was able to pick where I wanted to be, either if it's how close to home it is or how close to college it is. Doesn't really matter. I picked that. It took a little bit because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted the bonus. I wanted a shorter AIT. I didn't want to be there for too long because I didn't want to miss out on college. But unfortunately, I still had to take a gap year nonetheless. But I picked something that was shorter, picked it with a bonus, and then I picked it closest to my college instead of my home. Because from my home, my unit's 3 hours away, but from college is only about 1 hour and 10 minutes away, which is pretty nice because, I'm going to be in college for the majority of the time come the fall. And classes got canceled, this semester. Well, they're online now. They didn't get canceled, but I still had to take a gap year. So I'm just pretty much at home, doing whatever. So with that, you pick your stuff, you pick your job. I'm a 92 Golf, I'm a cook, a culinary specialist, and obviously when I get later on into the series, when I talk about AIT and everything, I'll go more in depth about it, especially if you're thinking about being a culinary specialist or a cook in the Army, or the Air Force. Because the Air Force and the Army are pretty much the same as it goes with cooking and with culinary specialists, except the Air Force doesn't go out and do field cooking, the Army does. So, and I'll explain that later on in the series. But then finally, so you finish doing all that, you're exhausted, you're tired, and finally you're like, okay, I'm about to swear in, like, this is awesome, okay? So you get called back out, your family could come and they can watch you swear in and everything else. And then a higher up, probably, an officer of some sort, I don't know what kind of rank has to be the highest in order to swear you in, but you go in there, he just fills out a little bit of information, not too much, and then you all go in the room, raise your right hand, and then swear that you protect the president and that you'll serve under the president. And if you're in the National Guard, yours is a little bit different from swearing in. So you swear under the president and you swear under the governor of your state. And the reason why you do that is because you're National Guard. You get called for state emergencies and stuff like that. So that's how that goes. And then after that, you see your recruiter. If he's up there, he congratulates you. He's like, hey, you're ready to go. You get all your paperwork. Make sure you guys keep the paperwork because you're going to need it later on when you go off the basic. It'll tell you when you're shipping, where you're shipping, whether it's Fort Benning, Fort Jackson, Fort Sill, it doesn't matter. It'll tell you everything. It'll tell you where you're going for AIT, and make sure you guys keep that. And it'll let you know if you get a bonus or not, because sometimes the Army doesn't like giving out money, but they like taking money. So if they're trying to give out money and they say, oh, you didn't have a bonus, make sure you keep that paperwork. There's this thing called an I Love Me binder. I actually created one when I got home after I graduated from AIT, and it has all my paperwork, all my sick call slips when I got injured, and I'll talk about that later on in the series. It has all my documents, my graduation certificate, everything. I highly advise you guys after you're done with training or while you're in AIT, because in basic you really don't have time to do it, or when you're in AIT, make an I Love Me binder. And if you guys are more curious about that, comment that down below and I'll go more in depth with it. But anyways, that's pretty much it. After that, you're free to go home. Hey, you are now technically in the military, but technically not. You still need to graduate basic. You still need to graduate AIT. But now you can say, hey, I got a future ahead for me. You know, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get this done. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Do what you gotta do. Follow me on social media. You know, I hate saying all this all the time because I'm not trying to force you into it. Do it if you want. You know, I do appreciate the support though. So if you do, I appreciate that very much. Anyways, guys, I love you very much and thank you for watching. Make sure to comment any questions down below, you know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.